And you're welcome to the half-hour edition of NEWSNITE. Headlines here is brought to you by Eden Heights. Eden Heights, welcome home. Coming up, aggrieved Men's Gold customers storm police headquarters demanding to have a word with the man keeping their money, Nanapia Mensah.
All what we are demanding is that the customers, they say that they want to hear from NAM1. So we wanted to have a discussion with them so that they give us a date and then hear from the horse's own mouth.
We have all the fine details tonight. Also, stay on and fight to justify the confidence reposed in you. Minority in Parliament charges Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu.
We made himself a citizen vigilante, and we want him to prove it. He shouldn't run away. He should stay there and prove that he's actually a citizen vigilante.
And in business, Cocoa Board seeks legal backing for its new pricing structure for cocoa purchases.
And later, we have live commentary from Cairo. The match between Tunisia and Nigeria. They are fighting for third place. That's all coming up here on NEWSNITE. Do join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp on 0244340437. That's on WhatsApp and Telegram. I am MF Paul. And NEWSNITE, as always, is brought to you by Puma Card from Puma Energy. Cash-free convenience. Now, aggrieved customers of Defense Gold dealership Men's Gold today stormed the police headquarters in Accra, demanding to have a word with the owner, Nana Apia Mensah. Mr. Mensah, who was picked up at the Kotoka International Airport, has been remanded in police custody after being charged with 2 counts of abetment to defraud by false pretense and 2 counts of abetment to carry out banking business without license. That's contrary to the Banks and Specialized Deposit Taking Institutions Act. My colleague Enes Meno will join us shortly to tell us about the encounter at the police headquarters. But first, the aggrieved customers want government to suspend the criminal prosecution and set up a committee to help retrieve their locked up funds. Fred Forson speaks for them.
Joe Boy! Hey! Our money!
Our blood!
Our money!
Our blood!
Our money!
Our blood!
We expect the government to take action on with alacrity as follows. 1. Government urgent intervention to set up joint committee comprising leadership of CACM Ghana, Men's Gold Management, Parliament and government itself to work towards customers' interest of retrieving their locked up investment. 2. Government should help Nana Apia Mensah, Men's Gold CEO, to retrieve all monies due him from Dubai and other places. 3. Government should bring Nana Apia Mensah to Ghana immediately. 4. There should be joint account for all parties, that is CACM, Parliament, Men's Gold Management and Ghana, and government. Members of the press, we CACM have no other interest in prosecuting and incarceration of NAM1 except to retrieve our locked up investment. We urge the government and state unequivocally that the government establishes point 1 above immediately. We are really uncomfortable and alarmed that NAM1 has been remanded for 2 long weeks, despite the facts available of the true status of NAM1. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, it is important to state clearly that we do not want to be seen as obstructing the legal process. Neither do we expect government to be seen to obstructing the processes that will lead to the payment of our money by these same aforementioned institutions. In our view, the state has the power to delay criminal charges against NAM1 and rather work to ensure that thousands of Ghanaian citizens whose investments are locked up are paid within the shortest possible time. The welfare of the customers should supersede every decision by the state. However, considering the alternative dispute resolution approach to finding amicable solution to this issue than the litigation processes, if it is true that the government is of the people and by the people and for the people, then she should also stand by the people in these trying times by ensuring that now that NAM1 is in Ghana, the narrative has changed positively.
Meanwhile, a consultant to the customers, Jacob Osei-Yeboah, claimed in the following interview with Joy News that some politicians and top government officials are complicit in this particular case. He failed to name them, but believes the prosecution will only cover up the individuals behind the scheme.
From experience, right from Piram days up to this point. Some of us, our intelligence has actually informed us that those behind all these so-called scams are politicians, and especially MPP, NDC political parties. And that is what is unfolding at this point in time.
And so, with regards to this men's gold issue, you think that politicians are behind it, and are you willing to, do you have evidence to that effect?
You see, after you've gathered intelligence, you take your time before you release them one after the other. And so when I met them, the first thing that I told them was to encourage them that they should not be ashamed of the fact that they desire to invest in men's gold and that they are not greedy people. Because that was the first tool that they wanted to use against them, so that most of them will just run and then get into their shell. And so that was the first thing. And I told them, the second thing that I told them was for the fact that they should concentrate on the fact that it's their money that they are after, nothing else. And you could see one after the other, that is what they've been exhibiting.
But back to the point, do you have evidence that politicians are behind it?
Oh, definitely. But this is not the time. And it's going to be unfolded. And that is why
you'll be willing to mention names.
Nana Pia Mensah bought a lot of V8 and things like that. We know.
For politicians?
We gave out money and things like that.
For politicians?
Politicians. You see, no. I've told you that with intelligence, we don't release intelligence offhand.
You heard the 2012 independent candidate Jacob Osei-Yeboah. Like I said, my colleague Ernest Menu was with the protesters, at least the men's gold customers. After that press conference, though, they marched to the CID headquarters demanding that they have a word with NAM1. And Ernest joins us in the studio. So, did they have a word with him?
They were met by the police, at the entrance with some resistance because they had not notified, according to the police, that they were coming there in their numbers. As far as the police is concerned, they are only the leaders are there to deliver a letter, but they were clad in red and black, and for the police, that's a sign of demonstration, and so they were not going to accept the letter that they came with. In fact, they weren't sure if it was a letter or a petition. And so I spoke to Jacob Osei-Yeboah, who was leading the group, and he explained to me what happened, because eventually 5 of them went in there to speak to the police, and then, we got some response from them on what exactly transpired in there whilst they were with the police.
Well, we'll hear from him, though. But did they just decide after the press conference to walk to the police headquarters from the press center, or it was something that was planned already?
So from what I gather, they had planned to do this, except that the planning didn't go well.
Okay.
So Jacob Osei-Yeboah tells me that he had been in talks with some police officers at the headquarters, and so they are aware that they will be delivering a letter, but they should have sent some notification ahead of the visit today, and then again they didn't expect them to come in their numbers because this was just a letter.
As of yesterday, we alerted the FFU unit, that is the Financial Forensic Unit of CID. We have been dealing with them amicably since the inception of this men's gold, the men's gold saga. And so yesterday we alerted them that once we have the various leaders from Kumasi, from Takwa joining the Accra one, we have a letter. It's not a petition, it's not a demonstration letter. It's just a letter to seek audience with them so that we will have the opportunity to meet with NAM1. But because most of the aggrieved customers realized that we were heading towards the police headquarters, they all joined us. And so the police sees it as a form of demonstration, with the media also following us. And for that matter, the right thing ought to be done. No, all what they said was that if they receive the letter as at now, then it means that we've demonstrated and we are presenting a petition.
But then, as though, just quickly clarify for me, Jacob Osei-Yeboah, is he also an aggrieved customer?
He is consultant for the aggrieved customers, and he tells me he's been with them since day one, and so he's helping them, through the situation together with their lawyers. Okay,
so we have their lawyer on the phone joining us, also as well as the PRO for Men's Gold, Amanda Clinton. We are grateful for your time here on NEWSNITE. We also have Niama Amatefio. But I'll start with you, lawyer Amanda Clinton. So clarify for me, we've heard from the aggrieved customers. They're saying that they want a stay of the prosecution of Nana Appiah Mensah. All they want is a retrieval of their money. They have the blessing of their lawyers?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to clarify that with the aggrieved customers, there's sort of different fractions, because it's something that anybody can take on for themselves if they are a customer. Do you see what I mean? So there's different people with different views within the aggrieved customers. As has been said by Joseph Yeboah, as well as the, aggrieved Men's Gold customers, the welfare of the people is the most paramount thing in this situation, including the retrieval of funds above, any sort of criminal matter. However, saying that, the government has had over 6-7 months to hear petitions from Men's Gold, meaning, do you have any money to give these customers? How can we appease them? And I would assume nothing has come from Men's Gold in terms of a peswa of the money that they're actually going to give to customers. So because we're dealing with dishonest offenses, meaning fraud, it is perhaps not the word of people who are accused of fraud that we will take in terms of where the money is. If a peswa hasn't come so far, everything else is talk. So the aggrieved customers are really suffering. However, they also have to understand that Men's Gold are very good at building narratives. That's why their business was so successful. So we cannot blindly follow their narrative if not a peswa has come forward. And the welfare of the people also means perhaps we have to squeeze them in terms of the government, following this line. And then perhaps they'll tell us what happened to the money or bring some. Furthermore, with Joseph Yeboah, not too long ago, less than 2-3 months ago, he was on Ghana Web with Mr. Nana Appiah Mensah's father, and he even called me. He was working with Mr. Nana Appiah Mensah's father in order to make a deal with the government, etc., in terms of like what's going to happen to the company, etc., etc. And he was with Nana Appiah Mensah's father. That's categorically, it's even on the news. So it's quite surprising that now someone who was in the Men's Gold camp firmly with the father advocating is now saying he is a consultant for the aggrieved Men's Gold customers and is leading the charge, to the police station.
So you even have a concern with him being part of it. But really, I would want to find out, because this is the criminal aspect of the whole case. What could possibly come out of the prosecution? Will their monies be, for instance, be retrieved at the end of it, or what do you advise should happen?
I wouldn't necessarily call for jail time, but I do agree with government's stand to a certain extent, because we're talking, I think I mentioned something like $20 million on the charge sheet. It was higher than that in terms of the amount that's quoted for a mass group of people. So if government does not hold such people to account, then anybody could do this in Ghana. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, Men's Gold also has very strong negotiators, from their lawyers to their team to people who have negotiated very good big gold deals. They should, at this point, come up with firm figures and offer something. Do you see what I mean? But because for over 6-7 months, it's been nothing but talk, narrative, and not a single peswa. The government has almost been forced to take
so the man who can give us some answers is on the other line. Nneɛma Amatefio is the PRO for Men's Gold. Nneɛma, let's bring you into the discussion at this point. I would want to find out, you've heard the customers, you've heard their lawyers. When would they start seeing a peswa? After the prosecution, during the prosecution, or at what point?
Okay, MFA, good evening to your listeners. First of all, when your producer called me, what he told me was that I'm going to respond to the press news conference that was organized by their great customer, that is Kasem. So that's what I'm going to respond to.
Of course. So responding to the customers, they are saying that they want a committee set up comprising management of Men's Gold Parliament, and amongst others also, they want a stay of the prosecution so they can start seeing their monies.
Well, I'm not in a position to comment about the case now because it's before the court. So we allow the process to go. But before I go further, let me state here and now that lawyer Amanda Clinton is not, and I repeat, is not the lawyer for all aggrieved customers of Men's Good.
And that we have always stated. She's lawyer for some of the aggrieved customers.
Introduced as the lawyer for the aggrieved customers.
So Niama, can you answer the question now?
So now let's go on. So that correction been made. Well, you know for sure that the reason why our boss traveled all the way to Dubai was to go and collect those $39 million to come to Ghana and pay our customers. If the court issue hasn't happened in Dubai, I'm sure by now we've collected the $39 million and then payment structure has been put in place and then payment would have started. But you all know what happened in Dubai. So he came to Ghana, I think, on Thursday, and there are charges that, according to the CID or the FSAU, that he has to answer to. So as we speak to you now, he's still in police custody.
Okay,
So,
but he won that case in Dubai. At least when we spoke to you, he said he was going to work and then get that money and come back. We all know what happened. But he won that case. Does he have the $39 million to start paying?
Now, as far as the ruling is concerned, there was a timeline for the plaintiff to pay the money to us, and that deadline hasn't elapsed. So we are still waiting, and that's why we have called on government. If you look at the 3rd June letter that we wrote to government, we've asked government to help us to retrieve that $39 million from Horizon Royal Diamond so that we can come and pay our customers. So I agree with the customers with the news conference that they had this afternoon, calling on government to come in again and help us, as we've stated in that petition that we sent to government. So the echoes of the customers today, we subscribe to that very concern, and we are hoping that government will come to their aid and our aid so that they can help us to retrieve the $39 million from Horizon.
So it doesn't look like there's any hope in sight as we speak, because until government intervenes, you're saying that Nana Appiah Mensah will not get that money.
Now, the court, don't forget that in that ruling in the appellation court, the court has ordered the plaintiff to pay us that money. And you and I know that when the court orders that someone pays money, it's not instant. There's a process that we have to go through. So we are patient, we are waiting, and the lawyers are still negotiating with the Horizon people and how they can transfer the money into our account. So immediately the money hits our account, the next step, as you all know, is to put together a payment structure and then commence payment. And the customers also stated in that press release that they issued today that they want a joint committee, that is the customers, management of Men's Good, and government as well. So you could see that they say three.
So you subscribe to that also?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
Because I mean, in all those issues that started way back in September, all we've done in terms of payment structure, we've done it together with our customers.
So there's a payment structure, but we don't know when the monies will start hitting the account. We're grateful for your time. That's the PRO of Men's Good, Niama Amatefio. But we'll wrap up with Amanda quickly. So Amanda, you've heard Niama, you've heard the PRO of Men's Good. That's what he's telling you. As it stands now, they do not have any money to pay. The process will have to go the long haul.
Yes, but we're just a little worried because as he also pointed out, there's different fractions of the aggrieved customers. If you're a customer and you're owed money, you're aggrieved. So there's different schools of thought. But ultimately, as a sign of goodwill and good faith, we would like to see some of this money come forward. And the other issue is a joint task force stroke committee is helpful because, for instance, government could approach the Dubai government and say, this is Ghanaians' money. How are you going to help us retrieve it? Do you see what I mean? So that is also another angle, that this is a public interest matter because it is Ghanaians' money. So government, more than even Nana Appiah Mensah's team, is in a better position to negotiate for the money in a kingdom.
Okay.
You know.
We'll leave it here. Amanda Clinton is a lawyer for some of the aggrieved customers. But quickly, let's stay a while longer and matters relating to the court, because state prosecutors say they will prove that Gregory Afoko killed former NPP Upper East Regional Chairman Adams Mahama. The brother of former NPP Chairman Paul Afoko today pleaded not guilty to the charges of conspiracy to commit murder and murder as his trial commenced. A 7-member jury was also sworn in by the court, tasked with the responsibility of returning or guilty or not guilty verdict at the end of the trial. There's more in the following report.
The selection of jurors took about 35 minutes as state prosecutors clashed with the defense lawyers. Mr. Afoko's legal team challenged the process with 2 objections, asking for more time to look into the background of all potential jurors. The court on both occasions turned down the request, saying they can object to a person's nomination, but the law does not allow for such investigation. Gregory Afoko then proceeded to exercise his right to object to jurors 3 times without reason. He exercised this twice, with Asaki Alandi also exercising same once. Other jurors nominated were however accepted, bringing the number to 7. State prosecutors then briefed the court on the facts of the case. Chief State Attorney Marina Pio Paris said the state will demonstrate in the course of the trial that the 2 acted with the aim of killing Adams Mahama. The state, she said, intends to call 19 witnesses in the course of the trial. This is higher than the 14 that were called in the course of the previous trial. She recounted that Paul Afoko, then chairman of the MPP, and Kwabene Japan, then general secretary, attended a meeting in the Upper East region in 2015. The aim, she said, was to work against the then flag bearer of the party, Nana Akufo-Addo. The said meeting, prosecution added, was scattered by some men organized by the late Adams Mahama. Mr. Adams was attacked days after while he was heading home. The state concluded the facts by pointing out that Mr. Mahama, who was rushed to the hospital, named the 2 persons as the ones who poured the acid on him. Mr. Afoko's lawyers opted not to make an opening statement. Lawyer for the second accused person, Asaki Alandi, Andrew Votia, however, asked the court to order the BNI to allow him ample time to meet his client. This was granted by Justice Wood. The case has been adjourned to July 26 for case management.
Meanwhile, President of the Ghana Bar Association, Anthony Forsing, is today adding his voice to the many condemning the confinement of Gregory Afoko, including some civil society organizations. He was speaking on the Super Morning Show today.
My investigations prove that his lawyers were on the ball. And I do not think that, you see, the Bar Association must be jumping into matters which are before the courts. That is why we were careful about jumping into the matter. His lawyers were dealing with the issue. The matter was on appeal, and I am very careful about, trying to stampede the court into acting one way or the other. The court had given its orders, and the actors were not complying with the court's orders. Now, when somebody is not complying with the court's order, I know that the lawyers should know exactly what to do, irrespective of who is involved, because all persons, from the president to the last man, are subject to the rule of law. Nobody is above the law. Everybody's powers which he exercises in this country have been clearly delineated in the Constitution. Therefore, if somebody has been given an order by a court of competent jurisdiction and he is not complying, the lawyers ought to know what to do.
As the president of the Ghana Bar Association, Anthony Forsing, and it brings us to business. George Riafe has the very latest. You're wondering why? It's because we are preparing for live commentary between Tunisia and Nigeria as the ongoing AFCON games.
Well, MFA coming up in business. Cocoa Board seeks legal backing for its new pricing structure for the purchases of cocoa, and MTN Group appoints former Vodafone Chief Executive for Ghana, Yolanda Kuba, as its new digital and fintech officer. The business news on NEWSNITE is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank. We are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank. How can we help you? Let's now settle for the details. Now, Cocoa Board is taking steps to secure the required legal backing for its new pricing mechanism for cocoa farmers in the country. This was after it settled on the $2,600 floor price for cocoa beans sold by Ghana and Ivory Coast. There is more in this Business Desk report.
The move is to ensure that the new price due for cocoa farmers is not affected in any way in case there is a change in government or even a change in management of Cocoa Board. We understand that the necessary documents are currently being worked on, or the drafting of the required laws are almost complete. This should be laid before Parliament for the necessary approval. The move should ensure that the proposed $2,600 as the floor price gets the required legal support. It would also give some legal backing to the planned stabilization fund that Cocoa Board also wants to set up, in addition to the $2,600 new floor price of cocoa bean sales for 2021. Cocoa Board, together with the Ivorian counterparts, have worked on new deals to help improve upon the fortunes of cocoa farmers in their respective countries. Some analysts have argued if this move is well structured, it should help deal with complaints by some farmers. It should help deal with complaints of some farmers that they are not getting what they are due for their produce.
And that was a business desk report. Now, MTN Group has appointed the former Vodafone Ghana Chief Executive Officer, that is Yolanda Kuba, as its new Digital and FinTech Officer. Madam Kuba will join MTN Group reporting to its Group CEO, that is Rob Shatta. He is expected to oversee the deepening of MTN's dominance in the mobile money and FinTech space across the continent. He's taken over this role after leaving Vodacom Group as its Chief Officer for Strategy and New Business. He served as Chief Executive of Vodafone Ghana for 3 years. Now, the Bank of Ghana says it has made significant progress towards making the country a cash-light society very soon. Now, speaking at the launch of MOBEX 2019 Awards, Head of Payment at the Bank of Ghana, Seta Medeku, maintained that development is greatly improving or helping the economy make some savings.
Cash is the main means of payment for most retail transactions, but managing cash is expensive. It is more expensive to use cash, but much cheaper, efficient, and secure to adopt electronic payments. Our collective efforts over the years have yielded some encouraging results. Available data shows that we are on the right path. The growth rate of cash in circulation has moderated since 2015. Measured against GDP, cash in circulation. Measured against GDP, cash in circulation declined from 6.96% in 2015 to 4.55% in 2018. Public acceptance of mobile money also has positioned Ghana to transition into a cashless society.
This year's MOBEX Africa Tech Expo and Innovation Awards is slated for 29th of August, that is 2019. Now, the Group Chief Executive of Databank, Kojo Dimension, says the recent cleanup in the microfinance sector as well as the planned action for the capital market space has had little impact on its operations with respect to those long and short-dated funds that they are managing. Speaking to Joy Business at its annual general meeting of Databank's M Fund, Kojo Dimension said these panic withdrawals are currently having some impact on the broader market, but it doesn't think that it has affected confidence as a whole.
Didn't panic at all. And we didn't try to stop people from taking their monies away. If you want your money, no problem, we'll give you your money. And as people were coming in and getting their monies, they realized that, well, honestly, there's no cause for worry. And once you need your money, you get it. And not long, people just started returning the monies they had come for, because really they didn't have use for it. And they just came to to test whether those malicious rumors were true. Yes, I've seen an increase in investment. It's slowed down. It's lower than our expectation.
And that's the Group Chief Executive of Databank, Kojo Adaimensa. Now, as part of this corporate social responsibility, EcoBank, together with its partners, Woodin, and Old Mutual and Emirates, are supporting 16 medical students under its EcoBank Medical School Exchange Program. According to the Managing Director of EcoBank, that is Dan Saki, he says this is part of efforts to support or improving health delivery in the country.
The objective is to provide students the opportunity to experience medical healthcare delivery in other countries, and to enable them learn from that experience and be able to apply that learning to their work when they eventually qualify as medical doctors. We believe that exposure is key in making sure that we have a well-educated health force, a well-educated medical fraternity that can then translate into a healthy population from which we draw our clientele. So there's a mutually beneficial relationship that we as EcoBank seek.
Managing Director of EcoBank, Dan Saki. Now, finally, head of other financial services at the Bank of Ghana, Joseph Amoyewua, is retiring from the institution. We understand he's taking his leave, leading to retirement for the bank after more than 15 years at the Bank of Ghana and also more than 30 years in the banking industry. Sources say he would formally retire on July 24. We are learning that he'll be having some stints with the regional compliance body, that is the AMLC Compliance West Africa Group. He will then then be having some service with this institution before he finally settles down. And that's all for business on NEWSNITE.
Thank you very much, George. And the banking crisis issue, the impact we thought was just, dwindling, but it looks like it's just on and on because many may have lost their jobs across the country. But if you thought that the impact was over, then think again. An autism school in Ghana is on the verge of collapse as funds it invested in Gold Coast Fund Management remained locked up. The ultra-modern school at Frafraha was established by a UK-based Ghanaian, Cornelia Boateng, who quit her job as a manager at the British National Health Insurance Scheme to build the facility. She has sold her home and invested the money to ensure there was constant supply of funds to run the school. But Madame Boateng says she may have to shut down the school as her attempts to retrieve her investment have been unsuccessful. Fifi Kumsing has more in this report.
13-year-old Efua has been in the Woodfield Manor Autism School for the past year. Guided by her instructor, she tries to string beads. She was brought here from an orphanage to be given specialized skills to better communicate and relate to the world. But this opportunity may soon be over.
So when we finished, we set aside the money from the sale of my home to put it in an investment so that the interest from the investment will be used to pay staff salaries, water, electricity. So we put it in GN investment. The first year, fine, and then since 10 months, since October.
Of last year, 2018.
2018, October, nothing.
The situation is affecting the day-to-day running of the school, Madame Boateng says.
Because it's terrible. And if we close the school, we've, diminished every kind of hope for these children.
And that is one thing on your mind now.
Well, at the minute, we are on the verge of closure. At the minute, I can't go on borrowing money from people to pay staff salaries and water bill. We have a swimming pool here. You can see that it's a totally empty pool. We don't fill it with water anymore because our last bill was 2,000.
In one of the halls here, a number of the children are being taken through dance lessons. In her resolve to ensure the school continues to run, Madame Boateng says she's been pursuing the Gold Coast Fund Management to retrieve her investment, but that has yielded no result.
I mean, you go to the offices, there's no manager in the office, it's only receptionists, very, very rude people. I mean, the staff are very rude. I mean, I guess that's what they are doing to defend themselves.
And in the absence of funds, going to court is not an option.
How are we going to get the legal fees for this? I mean, I can't afford to. And, the time that I've got to spend working with the children, I'm out on the street chasing bank for money, and then if I put solicitors' fees, going to the courts, and I can't.
The critical training of these children is now threatened. If the funds for the school are not released soon, Efua and the rest of her mates at the Woodfield Manor Autism School may just have to be sent home. Fifi Kumsen, Joy News.
And fresh evidence from the Northern Regional Police Command indicates that complainants in the case involving the missing Toyota Hilux may have aided in the mysterious disappearance of the vehicle belonging to the newly created Savannah Regional Coordinating Council. Suleimana Ilyasu had reported that unidentified men wielding AK-47 guns broke into his house and ordered him to give out the keys of the vehicle. But police say its initial investigations show that the accounts given by Mr. Suleimana and the driver of the regional minister were inconsistent. Let's hear from the Police Public Relations Officer of the Northern Region, DSP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko.
One Alhaji Ilyas Suleimana. And Alhaji Suleimana is the person who the minister left the vehicle in his custody when he was traveling. Initially, it was this Alhaji who made the complaint to police. The other person is a driver who the minister handed the vehicle over to be delivered to Alhaji Ilyasu. He has been granted police inquiry bail, but Alhaji Ilyasu is still with police trying to assist us with the investigations. Their accounts are contradictory, but in the case of Alhaji Ilyasu, he initially told us the vehicle was robbed from his house at gunpoint. But so far, the investigation that we have undertaken and the facts that are coming to us does not indicate that the vehicle was robbed from the house, but it was taken from some other location. That is if it was even robbed. We need to investigate more, try to gather more evidence, and if we have enough to be able to secure a good charge and prosecution, then we'll do that. But for now, we are not ready for court.
You have the Northern Regional Police PRO, that's DSP Mohammed Yusuf Tanko. And that's how we end the special edition of NEWSNITE today, because we're making way for live commentary game between Tunisia and Nigeria. Is the third place slot in the AFCON tournament. Do stay for live commentary. I am MFA Paul. There's more news when you log on to mychoiceonline.com. Have a good evening.